Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand and Norway have united to impose sanctions on two Israeli ministers known for their far-right positions. The group of five Western nations has accused Finance Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and National Security Minister Bezalel Smotrich of repeatedly inciting violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. The countries underlined that their move should not be seen in isolation from events in Gaza. Sanctions include travel bans and the freezing of assets.
What we've done here is make a specific decision based upon the positions that have been put forward by these two Israeli ministers, based upon our concerns about the expansion of settlements in West Bank, based upon our concerns about violence in the area being promoted, including by the actions and rhetoric of these ministers.
It's because of settlements in the West Bank. We've long held the view that they are illegal under international law. There's been a lot of extremist and strong rhetoric around those settlements from those two ministers in particular. We think it's entirely appropriate.
Israel calling the restrictions outrageous and unacceptable. The U.S. also criticizing its allies. The Secretary of State urging them not to forget, quote, who the real enemy is. Marco Rubio added moves like these do not advance efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza or end the war, calling on the nations to reverse those measures. And Trent Murray joins us live from Tel Aviv. Trent, Israel calling these sanctions outrageous and unacceptable. So we've seen responses not just from the two ministers themselves, but from the larger Israeli government.
That's exactly right, Wei Su. The Israeli government somewhat circling their wagons, I guess you could say, around these two ministers after they were targeted with these significant sanctions from those five countries. Sort of leading the defence, if you will, is the country's foreign minister, Gideon Saar, who gave a press conference in Jerusalem very quickly after this news broke. He said it's a scandal that elected officials and members of this government are being subjected to these types of measures. He also said he had discussed the matter directly with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and has pointed to the fact that there will be a cabinet meeting here later this week, where it is expected the government will decide how to make, in his words, a response to this unacceptable decision. We are also seeing, though, some action being taken to one of those ministers being targeted. Now, that is the Finance Minister, Bezalel Smotrich. He is an important minister in this country with significant power. We are being told that his office has now directed a critical agreement that is in place with the Palestinian Authority to be cancelled. Now, we need to remember that in the West Bank, in the state of Palestine, the Israeli new shekel is the currency. Israel plays a really critical role in making sure that that economy can run. But he is now saying that this agreement will now be cancelled. It effectively gives banks up there freedom to not be targeted and have indemnity when it comes to financial transactions overseas. If he moves ahead with this, it could represent a real significant cash crunch in the Palestinian territories and also cause major problems for the PA up there trying to manage the economy. He is saying he's doing this in response to what the five countries have announced with these new sanctions, but many here are questioning whether the PA had any sort of role at all in getting these new measures drafted, but certainly a significant response from this minister targeting the Palestinian Authority over the actions taken by these five countries.
Trent, these sanctions, at least from the UK, explaining over repeated incitements of violence against Palestinian communities in the occupied West Bank. But both these ministers have also been known for criticizing the allowing of aid into Gaza. And on aid into Gaza, that has been a recurring question over the last few weeks, because with this new organization that is providing aid in Gaza, there's a controversy over this organization. Reports now of Israeli forces again opening fire on people waiting to enter an aid center. Any facts and observations from that?
Yeah, well, look, what I can tell you about Bezalel Smotrich is he is known here as a minister who's meant to be in charge of the finances, but often speaks well outside his ministerial portfolio relating to the situation in Gaza. In many ways, that is why he is so controversial. And it is in Gaza where we are seeing yet more reports of Palestinians being fired at as they are trying to collect aid. The latest information that we have, according to Gaza's health ministry, is that 17 Palestinians were wounded and dozens were injured, let's start that again. 17 Palestinians were killed, I should say, and dozens were injured as they approached the GHF in order to try and collect their aid. Now, the Israeli Defence Force has said that it did fire what it describes as warning shots at suspects who were advancing in the area and posed a threat to the troops. It added that they are aware of reports of injuries, but they have accused the Health Ministry of inflating the numbers. The GHF, for its part, has said that this incident happened several hours before we began operations. It's worth remembering some context there. A few days ago, we reported on the IDF announcing that the aid distribution centres are only going to be open between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. local time. Seemingly, this incident has occurred outside of those hours when the IDF had been warning that the area would turn into a combat zone. As you might imagine, Waisu, the UN very critical of what is occurring here. The head of UNRWA, the Palestinian Refugee Agency, has said that day after day, casualties and scores of injured are being reported at distribution points manned by Israel and private security companies. He has called the current system a humiliating one, saying that vulnerable people are once again finding themselves in the firing line just as they're trying to collect their aid.
Trent Murray there reporting on the difficulties of delivering aid through his new organisation to Palestinians in Gaza. And of course, the sanctioning as well of 2 Israeli cabinet ministers by 5 nations. Trent Murray there in Tel Aviv.